The storm rolled in heavy that night, swallowing the Montana mountains in sheets of white. Snow beat against the tall pines and covered the winding roads so thick that no one dared to drive them. In a wooden cabin tucked away in the woods, Ethan Walker sat quietly in his armchair, the firelight dancing across his rugged face. He had just finished reading a bedtime story to his 6-year-old daughter, Lily, who was now asleep upstairs. Life since his wife's passing hadn't been easy, but Ethan had built a quiet rhythm, raising Lily with patience and love, working at the mechanic's shop during the day, and finding solace in the peaceful silence of his cabin at night. Just as he was about to close the curtains, a sharp knock echoed through the storm. Startled, Ethan pulled open the heavy wooden door, and his breath caught in his chest. There in the blizzard stood a woman. She was trembling, her thin beige dress clinging to her frame, her arms crossed tightly to keep in any warmth she could find. Snow clung to her hair and lashes, and her lips were nearly blue. For a split second, she looked almost unreal against the storm's fury, like a fragile painting brought to life. "Please," she whispered, her voice broken and raw. "My car slid off the road. I didn't know where else to go." Ethan didn't think twice. "Get inside," he said, pulling her gently into the cabin's warmth. He draped his thick coat over her shoulders and guided her toward the fire. She sat down, shivering as the flames began to thaw the ice from her skin. "I'll make you something hot," Ethan offered, moving toward the kitchen. When he returned with steaming tea, she finally managed a small smile. "Thank you. My name's Isabella." She didn't explain much that night, only that she had been driving from a retreat in the mountains and got caught in the storm. Ethan didn't press her. They sat in silence for a while, the crackling of the fire filling the room. He couldn't help but notice how out of place she seemed, elegant, refined, the kind of woman who looked like she belonged in New York penthouses, not in the middle of the Montana wilderness. He didn't know yet that she was, in fact, the CEO of a thriving tech company back east, a woman who had built an empire but lost touch with the warmth of a simple life. The next morning, Lily padded into the living room, rubbing sleep from her eyes. When she saw Isabella wrapped in one of her father's oversized sweaters, sipping coffee by the fire, she tilted her head curiously. "Are you going to be my new mommy?" she asked with the blunt innocence only a child could carry. Ethan nearly choked on his coffee. "Lily, that's not how it works," he said quickly, embarrassed. Isabella laughed softly, but something in her heart stirred at the child's words. She hadn't realized until that moment how much she had longed for this. Not luxury, not power, but the warmth of family, the safety of belonging. The storm kept them trapped together for days. During those evenings, Ethan and Isabella talked long into the night. He told her about losing his wife, about the weight of raising a child alone, and his dream of one day owning his own garage instead of working under someone else's name. Isabella, in turn, opened up about her world. The endless board meetings, the coldness of people who only wanted her for her money, the loneliness she felt at the top. Ethan admired her strength. She admired his resilience. And all the while, Lily grew attached to Isabella, following her around the cabin as though she had been there all along. Isabella taught her little games, braided her hair by the fire, and read her stories before bed. Ethan watched quietly, his heart torn between gratitude and a growing, undeniable pull toward the woman who had crashed into his life like the storm itself. When the blizzard finally broke and the roads cleared, Isabella stood outside beside her repaired SUV, the mountains glittering in the sunlight behind her. She looked at Ethan and Lily standing in the doorway, her heart heavy. "I should go," she said softly. "My life is back in New York." Ethan nodded, his jaw tight. "I understand." But as she turned toward her car, he stepped forward and caught her hand. "But I don't want this to end," he admitted, his voice low, honest. "I may not have much, Isabella. I can't offer skyscrapers or boardrooms. But what I do have, it's real." She looked up at him, her eyes shining with tears. For the first time in years, she wasn't a CEO weighing the risks of a business deal. She was simply a woman standing in front of a man who had shown her what love could be. "Then maybe I don't want it to end either," she whispered. Months passed. Isabella returned to Montana, not for business, but for love. She invested in Ethan's dream, helping him open his own garage in town, all while running her company remotely. She traded the cold loneliness of corporate boardrooms for evenings spent cooking dinner with Ethan, laughter filling the cabin, Lily's joy echoing through the halls. The storm that once threatened to tear their worlds apart had instead brought them together. In the quiet heart of Montana, a single dad and a powerful CO discovered a love that no money, no success, and no storm could ever take away.